Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the podcast, and welcome to your WWE SummerSlam post-show, man. And there is a lot to talk about with what went down at SummerSlam for both Night 1 and Night 2. We got some surprises, some returns. We'll talk about that in today's episode as well. My thoughts of SummerSlam and just the overall show in itself and how I felt about the show that went down this weekend at SummerSlam. So let's start off tonight, man. We have a highly anticipated women's world title matchup. It is Liv Morgan defending the women's world title against Io Sky. Now, Io Sky got this opportunity, obviously, when she won Queen of the Ring, and she called out Liv Morgan for a title shot at SummerSlam. So the match itself, it was a good match. It was a back-and-forth matchup between Io and Liv Morgan, with Liv keeping the pace of the match. Liv sends Io into the barricade on the outside, followed by a Three Amigos by Liv Morgan on Io in the middle of the ring. Liv then hits an enziguri for a near fall. Io then hits a running knees on Liv Morgan, followed by Io hitting a sunset powerbomb through the ropes, sending Liv Morgan to the outside. After that, Roxanne Perez is here. Raquel hits a choke slam on Io with the referee being distracted. Liv then goes for the cover but gets a near fall. Io then attacks Roxanne Perez. Io then hits a moonsault to the outside, taking out the Judgment Day. Liv Morgan then hits a head scissors on Io. Io, though, hits a Spanish fly for a near fall. Io and Liv Morgan then both exchange in the middle of the ring, with Io going for another running knee strike, but Liv counters. Io then hits an Oblivion on Liv Morgan in the middle of the ring for a near fall, but Liv gets up, hits a code breaker off the middle rope on Io for a near fall. Io then gets up, hits a German suplex on the apron, followed by Io hitting a running knee strike on the apron. Io then goes for a moonsault, but Liv had the knees up, which allowed Liv to go for an Oblivion, but Io counters it. Liv hits a code red, followed by finally hitting an Oblivion on Io Sky, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match, and still women's world champion, is Liv Morgan. Now, a couple things about this. Did I like the outcome of the match? No. And the reason why that is, I mean, we're all well aware of Liv Morgan's title reign, if you even want to call it that. I mean, she's had the belt for over 100 days. She's barely had any title defenses with that women's world title. And I feel like the reason why that is, whether people like it or not, is because they really wanted to set up a program here between Liv Morgan and Stephanie Vaquer. Now, we have not seen Stephanie Vaquer in quite some time. A lot of people thought she was injured. I think the situation at hand is that Stephanie is facing visa issues, which is not allowing her to show up on Monday Night Raw. So at that time, I think Triple H and the writing team, if you want to call it that, were trying to do whatever they can to pivot Liv Morgan's title reign. Now, we had Io obviously win the Queen of the Ring tournament. She called her shot out for Liv Morgan and wanted Liv Morgan at SummerSlam for the world title. The issue that I have with this, with Liv winning, is where do we go next with Liv? Obviously, a lot of people are still clamoring for the opportunity in the rematch between Liv Morgan and Stephanie Vaquer. They want to see that matchup. They want to see that go down. And the storyline is within itself. We haven't seen Stephanie in quite some time due to visa issues. So the question now with Liv beating Io at SummerSlam is, where do we go next with Liv Morgan? Now that she has retained her women's world title, what do we do next with Liv Morgan? Do a lot of people want to see Liv Morgan have another 100 days with no title reign? Absolutely not. The question at bay is, where do we go from here? What's next for Io Sky? What's next for Liv Morgan? Obviously, Io is going to go in the back of the line. Liv Morgan now still having the women's world title. The next thing I would have to say is, who's next for Liv Morgan? Are we looking at a situation where hopefully Stephanie Vaquer, her visa issues are somehow figured out, and she's able to come back to Monday Night Raw, and we have a program here between Liv Morgan and Stephanie Vaquer? Does this open up the doors for possibility of, maybe maybe Roxanne Perez? I know some people might be shocked by that, but Roxanne right now currently is the only one without a title within the Judgment Day. Does Roxanne do they set up a story here between Roxanne and Liv Morgan? Not sure. Do we get the return of maybe Becky Lynch? Becky had a lot of time going after Liv Morgan after the Intercontinental Championship. She really put that Women's Intercontinental Championship on the line. Is this something where we get the return of Becky Lynch, and maybe Becky has her sights set now on the Women's World Title after already establishing the Women's Intercontinental Championship? That's another route that maybe WWE is also willing to go for Liv Morgan, because I do not want to see Liv hold on to this title for another 100 days with no title defenses. We've already had that. That's already been well established, and probably going down as one of the worst title reigns of all time. Probably right there with Jade Cargill. So does this open the door for the Becky Lynches? Does this open the door for the return of Stephanie Vaquer? Does this open the door maybe for other individuals on the women's roster for Monday Night Raw to get an opportunity at Liv Morgan without Stephanie Vaquer? So there's going to be a lot of questions going into Monday Night Raw with where we're going next with Liv Morgan. So hopefully we get some kind of insight on who will be the next challenger for Liv Morgan's women's world title. Moving on from that, though, we got a 6-man tag team matchup. It is the Usos teaming up with Jacob Fatu, taking on Royce Keys, Solo Sikoa, and LA Knight. Now, again, this was a good match. It was a back-and-forth matchup between both teams, with Solo mocking Jey Uso with running back the entrance music. Solo then hits a Samoan drop on Fatu in the middle of the ring, but Fatu quickly gets up, hits a super kick in the middle of the ring. Fatu then hits a pump-up Samoan drop on Solo in the middle of the ring as well. Usos and Fatu were keeping the pace of the match. Fatu hits a hip attack, but Royce Keys hits a power slam in the middle of the ring. Jimmy Uso then hits a super kick on Royce. Royce then hits an avalanche power slam on Jimmy Uso. Knight then hits a power slam of his own, followed by an elbow drop. Jay then hits a spear for a near fall. LA Knight then hits a superplex. Jimmy Uso then hits an Uso splash on LA Knight. Fatu then hits an impaler DDT in the middle of the ring. Royce Keys then hits a spinebuster on Fatu. Royce then sends Fatu over the timekeeper's table with a power slam on the outside. Jay then hits another spear. Jimmy hits an Uso splash for a near fall. Solo Sikoa then hits a Samoan spike on Jimmy Uso, with LA Knight hitting a BFT on Jey Uso in the middle of the ring. Pins for the 3. And your winners of the match are Royce Keys, Solo Sikoa, and LA Knight. Now, a couple of things about this as well. I've been very crucial with this shit between LA Knight and the Bloodline. You know, I've told you guys before, when it pertains to the Bloodline, LA Knight is right there. I mean, he is tied at the hip with the Bloodline. It's been going on for quite some time. Now, after this matchup that LA Knight just had seemingly with the Usos, teaming up with Solo Sikoa and Royce Keys, I'm hoping that we get some more push for LA Knight. Whether that's a title push, whether that's a title reign, whether that's something where he's back in the main event scene on Monday Night Raw without being attached to the Usos. I think the Usos need to move on. I think maybe the Usos can focus on the tag team division, put them back in the tag team division, have them go after the tag team titles. Jacob Fatu, again, another main event star. And hopefully Jacob Fatu can go back to what he once was, which was the Samoan Werewolf. But as far as LA Knight's concerned, after this matchup here at SummerSlam, when he fought, once again, the Usos, I think it's time that WWE hopefully starts to push LA Knight more into the main event scene, hell, maybe even to the title scene moving forward, because at this point, there is nothing left on the table for LA Knight to do with the Usos, and vice versa. There's nothing else left for these guys to do. Somebody has to move on, and hopefully that is LA Knight, and we put LA Knight back in the main event scene. Moving on from that, though, we go into our next matchup, highly anticipated matchup. It is Gunther taking on Nick Aldis. Now, again, this was a highly anticipated matchup. This was something that Nick Aldis desperately wanted when he came into WWE. Obviously, he was the general manager of SmackDown, and we saw the storyline kind of unravel here between Gunther and Nick Aldis. Now, this matchup itself, this was Aldis' first match in 3 years. 3 years. Now, if people are not familiar with Nick Aldis' work, Nick Aldis has wrestled. He has the accolades. He has wrestled for the likes of TNA. He was TNA Tag Team Champions. I believe even TNA World Champion at one time when he was Magnus in TNA. And obviously a lot of people, if you're not familiar as well, he also had a great run in NWA when NWA came back and had its, resurgence once again when Billy Corgan bought NWA and put them back on the map after so many years and so many decades. Nick Aldis was also the NWA World Heavyweight Champion, walking around with the 10 pounds of gold. So it's not like Nick Aldis has never wrestled in a wrestling ring at all. So this matchup between Gunther and Aldis, man, once again, I thought it was a good match. I thought it was a great showing by Nick Aldis. It was a back-and-forth matchup between Gunther and Aldis. Gunther playing mind games with Aldis. Aldis, though, hits a brainbuster for a near fall. Gunther sends Aldis into the ring post, followed by Gunther landing brutal chops on Aldis in the middle of the ring. Gunther then applies a sleeper hold on Aldis, but the hold is broken. Aldis then hits a superplex, followed by a lariat on Gunther. Aldis then hits a running power slam, taking a page out of the late, great Davey Boy Smith for a near fall. Aldis then hits a scoop slam, followed by an elbow drop. Aldis then hits another power slam on Gunther, then applies a clover leaf on Gunther, but the hold is broken. Gunther then applies a sleeper hold on Aldis, but the hold is broken as well. Gunther then hits a power bomb for a near fall, followed by Gunther once again applying another sleeper hold on Nick Aldis. Referee sounds for the bell, and your winner of the match is Gunther. After the match, you can see Nick Aldis standing in the ring. Crowd has a great ovation from the crowd for Nick Aldis. Obviously, Aldis has joined there with his family and his wife after this matchup as well. Couple of things I want to talk about this quickly too, man, before I move on. Like I said before, man, Aldis, I respected the hell out of Nick Aldis. I think him being a SmackDown general manager is doing great things for SmackDown. Obviously, the show can get a lot better. I'm not going to blame Aldis entirely for the creative on Friday Night SmackDown, but I think Aldis is really coming into his own as a general manager for SmackDown. The fact that, he had a great match, I thought, against Gunther. And people are already saying after this matchup that he had with Gunther, this will not be the last time that we see Nick Aldis step inside the squared circle for WWE. And I'm all for that, honestly. I think Nick Aldis really held his own. I was happy with the outcome of the match with Gunther going over. But again, I thought that, now, do I think the match was better than Pat McAfee versus Gunther? Absolutely. Pat McAfee had no idea what the hell to do, and he did not need to be in that ring against Gunther. I'm sorry. But again, Aldis did a hell of a job. I think Aldis, I think there was a backstage segment during SummerSlam where Triple H reinstated Nick Aldis as a SmackDown general manager, telling Aldis let's get back to business and kind of lay off Gunther for a little while. And Aldis now is reinstated back as the SmackDown general manager, which I think is the best spot for Nick Aldis. I think he's going to do some fantastic things moving forward as a general manager of Friday Night SmackDown. But hats off to Gunther for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we have a 6 women's tag team matchup. It is Paige and the Bellas taking on Fatal Influence. Now, I thought this was a good match. It was a back and forth matchup between both teams, with Brie landing yes kicks in the middle of the ring. Paige and the Bellas were trying to keep the pace of the match, but JC Jane hits a senton on the outside into the steel steps on Brie. Nikki then hits an X Factor for a near fall. Paige hits a senton off the apron as well. But Jane hits a rolling lariat, pins for the 3, and your winners of the match are Fatal Influence. After the match, the Bellas and Paige are standing in the middle of the ring, but all of a sudden the Bellas turn on Paige and attack Paige, leaving her helpless in the middle of the ring. And it looks like the Bellas have now turned heel moving forward. So again, it looks like Paige is once again all on her own without the Bellas. A couple of things I want to say about this too, man. Number one, I've been calling for this for a long time, for the separation from Paige and the Bellas. I think the Bellas, this is going to be a hot take for a lot of people, and if you are a Bella fan, then again, I guess it is what it is. I'm done with the experience with the Bellas. I understand why Nikki and Brie came back. I understand it. They want to have, they want to have a comeback. They want to show their family and friends that they still have it, and they're able to compete. Show their kids that they can still wrestle, or show them what they can do inside the squared circle and compete at a very high level. And I get that. And while I don't really, care for the Bellas, I can respect the fact that they're trying to show their family and their friends and even their, their families and their kids that, hey, I can still compete at a very high level. This is what I do, and put themselves in a position maybe to be a top star once again in WWE. My issue with the Bellas is this. I think I can understand trying to make a comeback. I can understand trying to put your name back out there in the realm of things within WWE. A lot has changed since the Bellas have been gone. A lot has changed. The landscape alone within WWE has vastly changed since the Bellas left. The women's roster has gotten better, in my honest opinion. It's been more action-packed wrestling with the likes of bringing in Stephanie Vaquer and Solo Sikoa. Liv Morgan's been on one hell of a run, minus her title reign. Raquel Rodriguez, Roxanne Perez, Rhea Ripley, obviously. You have also Jade Cargill, which, again, it is what it is with Jade. But the women's roster right now, the women's locker room, since the Bellas have left, and went on their hiatus, a lot of things have changed. The landscape has changed. The wrestling for the women's roster on both Raw and SmackDown, or just WWE for that matter, has changed vastly since we saw the Bellas, primetime Bellas. I think at this point, even after turning heel and turning on Paige, I think they're trying to hold on to whatever they can to stay relevant within WWE. Do I need to see Nikki Bella win the women's world title? Absolutely fucking not. And I say the same thing with Brie Bella. If they want to go after the women's tag team championships, fine. You want to have a storyline here with them and Fatal Influence, then God bless you. But do I need to see... I know Brie said that she wants to have a solo run and go after the women's title. I really give a rat's ass about seeing that. I'm sorry. And even in their prime, I really didn't give a rat's ass about seeing either one of the Bellas being a women's world champion. I'm sorry. I think at this point, Nikki is trying to hold on to any kind of relevance that she had and, her prime of her career, and that's why she's turning, heel. And in her career so far, since she's been back, it's been kind of stale. Obviously, she was injured, which, again, at WrestleMania, also brought back Paige. I think for Paige, I think this is perfect for Paige. I think this puts Paige back in the main event scene, puts her as a single superstar, not in the women's tag team division, and she can go after the women's intercontinental title, or hell, even the women's world title for that matter as well. There's a lot of matches on paper right now for Paige to have that will be very entertaining matches. I would love to see a program between Paige and Liv Morgan, Paige and Raquel, Paige and Stephanie Vaquer, Paige and Rhea Ripley. There's a lot of matches on the table for Paige to have within the confines of WWE that, now that she's seemingly not with the Bellas no more, opens up the door for Paige to have some really good matches in her WWE return now that she is back with WWE. The Bellas, like I said, I can give a rat's ass what they do next. I just think they're trying to hold on to whatever they can to stay relevant. I just, at this point, I think the well has run dry for the Bellas. I think the Bellas are, in my opinion, at the tail end of their career, and maybe it is time for them to contemplate maybe hanging it up. That's just my opinion. I don't see how anything about the Bellas is going to be super entertaining for me to get intrigued with what the Bellas are doing. Now, Paige, like I said, there's a lot of matches on the table right now for Paige to have entertaining matches. Paige and Becky, Paige and Charlotte, Paige and Liv Morgan, Stephanie Vaquer, Raquel Rodriguez. There's definitely some matches on paper right now that would be very entertaining matches for the likes of Paige. Hell, Paige and Io Sky, I'm all for it. I'm absolutely all for it. Moving on from that, though, we go into our next match of the night. Is Cody Rhodes taking on WWE Champion CM Punk for the WWE title. Before the match even gets started, though, I will say the entrance for Cody Rhodes I thought was very cool. It was very Street Fighter-ish. Obviously, Cody Rhodes is in the Street Fighter movie coming out in October. I thought it was really cool. He came out with the mask. He came out with the character that he's playing from Street Fighter. And I thought it was very cool how the production really put that entrance together for Cody Rhodes. Now, the match itself between Cody Rhodes and CM Punk, I thought was a great match. It was a back-and-forth matchup between Rhodes and Punk, with Rhodes and Punk both exchanging in the middle of the ring. Rhodes was keeping the pace of the match. Punk hits a lariat off the barricade on Rhodes, followed by a suplex as well. Punk then hits a running knee. Rhodes then is trying to injure the knee of Punk. Rhodes then goes for a disaster kick, but Punk counters the disaster kick with a scoop slam. Punk then hits an elbow drop off the top rope for a near fall. Rhodes then hits a Cody cutter, followed by a disaster kick, and then a super Cody cutter as well, all for a near fall. Punk then goes for a GTS on Rhodes, but Rhodes counters it with a figure four leg lock, but the hold is broken. Punk then applies an Anaconda Vice in the middle of the ring, but the hold is broken as well. Punk then was hitting Rhodes with knee strikes, followed by Punk once again applying another Anaconda Vice on Rhodes, but the hold is broken. Rhodes then hits a crossroads for a near fall. Punk then hits a moonsault for a near fall, followed by a lariat as well, and a GTS for a near fall. Punk then goes for an elbow drop to the outside, missed, and went through the announce table on the outside. Rhodes then goes for a cutter but missed, and Punk took out the referee. Punk then hits a GTS on Rhodes, but Rhodes then hits a crossroads. Both guys are laid out in the middle of the ring. But all of a sudden, Randy Orton is here. Randy Orton then jumps over the barricade. He jumps into the ring. Cody Rhodes has no idea what the hell is going on. Orton hits an RKO on Rhodes. This allowed Punk to hit a GTS on Rhodes as well in the middle of the ring. Pins for the 3. And your winner of the match and still WWE Champion is CM Punk. Now, A couple things about this. Number one, this was a great match. This was one of the matches I was looking forward to at SummerSlam. A lot of history here between Rhodes and Punk. I think the biggest shocker, though, the elephant in the room, was the return of Randy Orton. We have not seen Randy Orton in quite some time. Orton comes back. He hits an RKO on his buddy, Cody Rhodes, seemingly helping CM Punk retain the WWE title. First and foremost, I'm excited for Orton to be back. It's great to see him back. It's great to see him back in the fold of WWE. He's been gone for quite some time. And it looks like Orton has some unfinished business with Cody Rhodes. Now, I've said this. Other content creators have said this. Multiple fans have said this. When are we going to see Cody Rhodes turn heel? When is it going to be time for Rhodes to turn heel? Hopefully that happens soon. Because now we have Orton costing Cody Rhodes his match against CM Punk. Seemingly giving CM Punk the win in this matchup with the help of the RKO. And Orton, being Cody Rhodes' best pal, turning his back on Cody Rhodes. When are we going to see Cody Rhodes turn heel? I think a lot of people are now getting frustrated and tired with the QB1 Captain America bullshit. We want to see a heel Cody Rhodes. We want to see an egotistical prick Cody Rhodes. Take the blonde hair, dye it black. Come out wearing black suits. Be an asshole. Be a prick. That's what Cody Rhodes needs to do. The QB1 shit is not working anymore. It's not working. It's run its course. And to be honest with y'all, man, it's starting to get stale. People are patiently waiting for Cody Rhodes to turn heel. And hopefully Cody Rhodes can wake up and smell the folders and realize, okay, maybe it's time for me to turn heel. The babyface Cody Rhodes shit's not working anymore. People don't want to see him as WWE champion. They don't even want to see Cody Rhodes in the main event scene. Why? Because people are patiently waiting for Cody Rhodes to turn heel. And hopefully Cody Rhodes can start reading, smelling the folders and realize, okay, maybe there's time for me to change. The QB1 shit's not working. The Captain America shit's not working. The Nightmare, the whole Nightmare thing, it's not working. If you want to be the American Nightmare, then be the Nightmare. Dye your hair black. Come out wearing black suits. Be an egotistical prick and an asshole. And I think it's really going to save Cody Rhodes' career. He's had a great career so far coming back to WWE. I'm not knocking that. But you got to change some shit up. You got to start changing shit up. And hopefully Cody Rhodes at least contemplates turning heel. Moving on from that, though, we go into the main event of Night 1. It is Oba Femi taking on Brock Lesnar in a Hell in a Cell match. Now, again, Oba Femi comes out to the ring. He's sitting in the ring. It seemed like Oba was waiting forever for Brock Lesnar. I mean, it took forever for Lesnar's music to hit and make his way down to the ring. Hell, I thought Brock Lesnar said to hell with this and left the arena with how much time he took to come down the goddamn ring and for his music to start playing for his entrance theme. It took forever. But the match itself, I thought was a good match. It was a back-and-forth matchup between Oba and Lesnar, with Lesnar hitting multiple German suplexes on Oba Femi. Oba gets up, hits a suplex on the outside on Lesnar. Oba then sends Lesnar through a table. Lesnar then hits Oba with the steel steps, followed by Lesnar hitting Oba again with the steps. Lesnar then hits another German suplex on Oba Femi. Lesnar then hits Oba with multiple chair shots as well, followed by a suplex. Lesnar then goes for an F5, but Oba counters it. Oba then hits a chokeslam on Lesnar. Oba then launches Lesnar across the ring. Oba then hits a fall from grace for a near fall on Lesnar. Lesnar gets up, hits 3 F5s on Oba Femi in the middle of the ring for a near fall. Lesnar then hits Oba multiple times with a chair. Lesnar then rips up the ring canvas, exposing the wooden boards of the ring. Lesnar then hits a tombstone on Oba on the exposed wooden boards of the ring for a near fall. Paul Heyman looks shocked. Lesnar then goes to hit Oba with a chair, but Oba punches the chair, and then Oba hits a fall from grace on Lesnar, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match is Oba Femi. After the match, Lesnar then walks out of the ring. He walks back in, he hugs Oba, and raises his hand. Lesnar then grabs a microphone and says that Oba is the future of the WWE, and I was the past. Lesnar then pretty much passes the torch to Oba Femi. A couple of things about this that I want to talk about before I get into Night 2, man. Was it a good match? It was an okay match between Lesnar and Oba. I will say this. Was this match called for a Hell in a Cell? Absolutely fucking not. They did not need to do a Hell in a Cell for this matchup, bro. Honestly, for what it's worth, there's some people out there that are probably saying, well, bro, what do you expect in a Hell in a Cell? Do you think they're going to do the same shit that Taker and Mankind did and have Mankind tossed off the goddamn ladder 20 feet below and go through the announce table. That's not what I'm saying. They didn't really use any element at all whatsoever really from this damn Hell in a Cell. I was hoping that maybe they would break through the cell. Hell, maybe even fight on top of the cell. Give me something that's going to be a memory that's going to last for the next 20 years. A holy shit moment that you're going to go back 20 years later and be like, you know what? Man, I remember that matchup between Lesnar and Obafemi in that Hell in a Cell at SummerSlam, where those guys beat the shit out of each other. They were fighting on top of the cage, and maybe, God forbid, one of them fell through the cage down to the ring below. Something like that. I don't know. Lesnar hitting an F5 on Oba on top of the cage, or Oba hits a fall from grace on Lesnar on the top of the cage. Something. They didn't use the Hell in a Cell cage at all. I don't know what the need for the Hell in a Cell was for. I can understand why Triple H did it, because obviously WWE at the time were scrambling, trying to figure out how to sell more tickets to SummerSlam. They were hurting. The SummerSlam ticket buys were hurting immensely. So they thought it was a great idea to lock both these guys, these Goliaths, in a cage in Hell in a Cell, thinking that match stipulation was going to add more asses to seats for SummerSlam. The Hell in a Cell was not needed for this matchup here between Oba and Brock Lesnar. It was not needed at all. At all. And to be honest with you, I mean, hell, bro, even though it might not piss most people off, but it irritated the shit out of me, it took Lesnar fucking forever to get his ass down to the ring. I mean, seriously, bro, it probably took at least, I would think, 10 minutes while Oba's just standing in the middle of the ring for Lesnar's music to hit for him to walk down to the goddamn ring. And then he's sitting there, pacing around and everything else, and the cell's still waiting to drop and everything else. And you can hear Lesnar telling the ref, hey, man, let's hurry up, let's get this shit going. And he's telling Brock, well, we got to wait for the cage to drop. Meanwhile, Lesnar took his sweet-ass time to get to the fucking ring. As far as Lesnar, after the match, praising Oba, telling the fans that Oba is the future and he was the past, and seemingly passing the torch to Obafemi. I mean, rightfully so, bro. I mean, Obafemi is going to be a guy that's going to carry this company on his back for the next 10, 15 years. Obafemi is the future of this business, whether people like it or not. Now, I will say it's absolutely insane with the amount of push Obafemi has gotten coming out the gate, making it on the main roster from NXT. I mean, they strapped the rocket ship to this guy's back, and they're not looking back. Obafemi is that guy. Obafemi is going to be the guy that's going to carry this company on his back for the next 10, 15 years. And you know what? Yeah. That was the only thing I will give Triple H and the powers that be the benefit of the doubt. They saw the writing on the wall with Oba. Oba comes in, 6'3", 303 pounds, built like a brick shithouse. They capitalize on this guy coming up from NXT up to the main roster. And he's a household name. He's one of the biggest baby faces in the company. And, I mean, hell, at this point, Obafemi is printing money for this company. He's a main event caliber star. He's going to be a future world champion, multi-time world champion. And, I mean, just from what Brock Lesnar said, I mean, this guy's going to be the next big thing in WWE. And seemingly Lesnar, passed the torch to Oba at SummerSlam. Oba's that guy, bro. Oba is going to be that guy that's going to be a main event star, main eventing, WrestleManias, pay-per-views for time to come. Absolutely. Does he deserve it? Absolutely. Obafemi's, he's fantastic, bro. He's good on the microphone. He's incredible in the ring. He's built like a brick shithouse. He's a powerhouse type wrestler. Absolutely. This is a guy that is going to be, he's got future Hall of Famer written all over him. Absolutely. And for what it's worth, WWE sees the potential in Obafemi. Like I said, they're printing money with Obafemi. They took the rocket ship and they strapped it to this guy's back, and they're not looking back. And rightfully so. But with that being said, did it need a Hell in a Cell match between Lesnar and Oba? Absolutely fucking not. Absolutely not. Was I happy with the outcome? Absolutely. But did it need a Hell in a Cell for this matchup to take place? Absolutely fucking not. So, that's my take on Night 1. We'll talk more about it and how I felt about the rest of the show after I do the review of Night 2 and give you guys my final thoughts of the show. But speaking of Night 2, we have a number 1 contenders match for the WWE title. It is between Finn Balor taking on former WWE champion and Sami Zayn. Now, before the match even gets started, we see Nick Aldis, the new reinstated SmackDown general manager. Aldis, like I said, was reinstated as SmackDown general manager, but Aldis says he's adding another member to this match. And that person is none other than Gunther. Gunther makes his way down to the ring, and seemingly this match is now a triple threat match. But Aldis says, you know what? I'm not done yet. I'm going to add someone else to this match and make it a fatal 4-way. Aldis takes a step back from the stage, and all of a sudden we hear Kevin Owens' music hit, and Kevin Owens is back. Kevin Owens is now in this matchup, making it a fatal 4-way. The crowd erupts. Great reaction from the crowd. Sami Zayn looks shocked as all hell. And Kevin Owens makes his way down to the ring. Referee sounds for the bell, and the match gets started. Now, the match itself was a good match. It was a back-and-forth matchup with Owens attacking Finn Balor and Gunther. Owens then hits a senton on Balor and Gunther as well. Owens and Zayn then hug in the middle of the ring, and Owens and Zayn both exchange in the middle of the ring. Owens then hits a senton off the top to the outside, followed by Owens hitting a swanton on Gunther, and Gunther hitting a big boot on Finn Balor. Finn then gets up, hits a sling blade on Gunther and Zayn. Gunther then hits a powerbomb on Finn for a near fall. Gunther then hits a big boot on Owens, followed by Owens getting up, hitting a superplex on Finn Balor. Gunther then applies a sleeper hold on Zayn. Finn hits a coup de grace for a near fall. After that, Owens then hits a stunner on Finn and Gunther in the middle of the ring, but Zayn hits a blue thunderbomb on Owens for a near fall. But Owens gets up, hits a stunner on Zayn, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match and new number 1 contender for the WWE title is Kevin Owens. Couple of things I'm going to talk about this. First and foremost, it's great to see Kevin Owens back. Kevin Owens has seemingly been gone for about 17 to 18 months, dealing with a neck injury that a lot of people thought with that neck injury he wasn't going to be able to compete ever again. They thought that Owens was done and that there was no way in hell this guy was coming back with an injury that he had. I can tell you guys right now, man, when his music hit, I was so excited. I was happy as hell. It was great to see him back, bro. And it only intensifies WWE with Kevin Owens being around. Kevin Owens is a main event guy. I'm a big fan of Kevin Owens. And it's just great to see him back. And the fact that there's probably going to be some people out there that might be a little upset with the fact that he won this match coming in. And now he's a new number 1 contender. You know, beating Zayn and Finn Balor and Gunther. Look, at the end of the day, Gunther's still going to be in the title scene. Zayn, I mean, Sami Zayn is one of those guys, bro, where if he's champion, great. If he's not, I'm okay with that as well. Finn Balor, you know, I can see the uprise in Finn. You know, maybe they are going to actually start pushing Finn Balor now that he's on SmackDown. But I'm not against this decision crowning Kevin Owens a new number 1 contender, especially against CM Punk. It's one of my dream matches to see between Owens and Punk. Both these guys are going to kill it on the microphone in these back and forth segments that these guys are going to have leading up to their match or their highly anticipated matchup. And you know what, bro? I'm all with it. You take my money. Kevin Owens versus CM Punk is going to be an incredible match. They're going to tell an incredible story. Obviously, there's a history there between Owens and Punk. And I'm all for it. I'm absolutely all for it. And for those people saying that it was a bad idea, bro, I don't see it. I really don't see it. If anything, I think it's something that Kevin Owens deserves. I think Kevin Owens has gone through a lot of shit dealing with that neck injury and the fact that he was gone for, 18 months and come back and he basically whoops everyone's ass and becomes a new number 1 contender. I'm not against it. I'm all for Kevin Owens being a number 1 contender, challenging CM Punk for the world title. It'll tell one hell of a story. So hats off to Kevin Owens for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we got a U.S. title matchup. It is Trick Williams defending the U.S. title against returning Baron Corbin. Corbin finally returned back to WWE a couple weeks ago. The match itself, I thought, was a decent match. It was a back-and-forth match up between Trick Williams and Baron Corbin, with Trick hitting a trick slap on Corbin. Corbin then hits a deep 6 on Trick on the outside. Corbin then sends Trick into the ring post, with Corbin keeping the pace. Corbin then attacks Little Yachty, who was ringside, but Yachty has a kendo stick, and he chases after Corbin with the kendo stick. This allowed Trick Williams to hit a neck breaker on Corbin, followed by a bookend for a near fall. Yachty then hits Corbin with the kendo stick, but then Corbin hits a big boot, and then Trick then hits a big boot of his own. Corbin then grabs the U.S. title, but Yachty grabs the title as well. Trick accidentally sends Yachty through a table on the outside, but Corbin then hits an end of days on Trick Williams, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match and new U.S. champion is Baron Corbin. Hats off to Baron Corbin for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we have a ladder match for the Women's Interim WWE Championship. It is Tiffany Stratton versus Jade Cargill versus Chelsea Green versus Lash Legend versus Charlotte Flair. Now, I thought it was a decent match. It was a back-and-forth matchup with Lash sending Charlotte into a ladder. Lash and Jade then hit a big boot on Green and Stratton. Flair then hits Jade with a ladder. Lash then hits a press slam in the middle of the ring. Stratton hits a code breaker. Flair and Stratton then both exchange in the middle of the ring, with Flair sending Stratton into a ladder. Jade then hits a Jaded, sending Green into the ladder. Lash then hits Flair with a ladder as well. Lash then sends Stratton back first into the ladder. Flair then climbs the ladder. Jade then takes away the ladder. Flair then was holding on to the title, but Flair is down. Stratton then sends Lash into the ladder. Green then pushes the ladder, sending Stratton to the outside. Green then grabs the ladder and climbs. Meechin and B-Fab are here. Meechin and B-Fab attack Chelsea Green, but then Flair attacks Meechin and B-Fab as well. Flair and Cargill then both exchange. Stratton and Legend both exchange. Stratton and Legend are now down. Green then climbs the ladder. Chelsea then grabs the title, and your winner of the match and new women's interim champion is Chelsea Green. Hats off to Chelsea Green for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we have a Mondays on a Pole match. It is Danhausen taking on AAA Mega Champion Dominic Mysterio in a Mondays on a Pole match. Now, I thought it was an okay match. There was a back-and-forth matchup between Danhausen and Mysterio, with Mysterio keeping the pace of the match. Danhausen hits a Scorpion Death Drop. JD McDonough is here. He attacks Danhausen, with JD hitting a moonsault. The Mini-Hausens are here. The Mini-Hausens then attack JD. JD then attacks the Mini-Hausens. The Mini-Hausens then attack Dominic Mysterio. Joe Hendry is here. Hendry then attacks JD with a guitar. Danhausen then cursed Dominic Mysterio when he was on the top rope, and Pyro goes off. Mysterio then falls off the top rope. Danhausen then climbs up the top rope. He grabs the monies, and your winner of the match is Danhausen. After the match, you can see Danhausen and Joe Hendry throwing the monies in the crowd for the fans. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It's for the Intercontinental Championship. It is Penta defending the Intercontinental title against Chad Gable. Now, I thought this was a good match. There was a back-and-forth matchup between Penta and Gable, with Gable hitting multiple German suplexes on Penta for a near fall. Gable then goes for a moonsault, but Penta counters it with a super kick for a near fall. Penta then hits a Penta driver for a near fall. Penta and Gable then both exchange in the middle of the ring, with Penta hitting a super kick on Gable. Gable then sends Penta into the corner for a near fall. Penta then snaps the arm of Gable for a near fall, but Gable gets up, applies an ankle lock on Penta, but the hold is broken. Gable then hits a German suplex on the apron on Penta, followed by a moonsault to the outside. Gable then hits a diving headbutt off the top rope for a near fall. Penta then hits a botched Mexican Destroyer on Gable on the apron. Penta then goes for another Mexican Destroyer on Gable, but Gable counters it with an ankle lock. Penta taps out, and your winner of the match and new Intercontinental Champion is Chad Gable. After the match, you can see Gable celebrating with his wife and kids. And then you also see, for some reason, they thought it was a great idea. The WWE creative team and Triple H thought it was a great idea to get the root beer, Mug Root Beer's mascot, the Bulldog, to show up in the ring. Give Chad Gable 2 root beer cans. You see Chad Gable chugging it like he Stone Cold Steve Austin back in 1998. Seemingly celebrating with Chad Gable, which I thought it was a bad idea to have this sponsor show up during the biggest win of this guy's career, crowning him the first ever Intercontinental Champion throughout his career, and Gable's been there for quite some time. I just thought it was a bad idea to have this sponsor come out during this match, man, in a time where Chad Gable was probably the biggest moment of his entire WWE career. So again, it was like one of those things where I was like, man, WWE really needs to read the room. Rather than having the Bulldog mascot for the Mug Root Beer to show up during this moment for Chad Gable, probably the biggest moment of his career, becoming the Intercontinental Champion for the first time in his career. So I was like, wow, man, you really need to read the room and pick your spots for these goddamn sponsors and ads, man. I thought it was actually kind of cringy, to be honest with you. But hats off to Gable. Gable has definitely earned this opportunity. He has busted his ass to get to this opportunity. I thought it was a great moment that he had, winning the belt. Penta putting the belt on Gable. Kind of actually gave me some, the same vibes of when, I think it was Bret Hart and Roddy Piper for the Intercontinental Championship, and you saw Piper put the belt on Bret Hart after that match. I believe it was for the Intercontinental Championship as well. But seeing Penta, kind of put the belt around Gable's waist and celebrating with Chad Gable after the match, I thought it was a class act by Penta. It was a great match, great showing by Chad Gable. And like I said, bro, he has busted his ass to get to this opportunity. He's worked his ass off up to this point, and I'm happy that WWE is finally pulled the trigger and crowned Chad Gable the new Intercontinental Champion because he deserved it, and he worked his ass off for it. So hats off to Gable for getting the win and becoming the new Intercontinental Champion. And moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is the main event of Night 2 of WWE SummerSlam. It is Roman Reigns defending the World Heavyweight title against Seth Rollins. Now, Rollins comes out to the ring with the Shield intro into his theme music, which I thought was cool, a little homage to the old Shield days. Rollins' gear, though, bro, I will say, I was like, what the hell is this dude wearing? I feel like it was something maybe he, I mean, the best way I could describe it, bro, is that he had inspirations from Doink, the clown, wearing this gear that he had on. And again, just like Brock Lesnar, Roman took his sweet-ass time getting to the ring. I mean, it felt like it took forever for Roman to come to the ring, bro. I think it was like 12, 13 minutes, just a pure entrance alone for Roman Reigns to get to the ring, bro. I'm like, Jesus Christ. But the match itself, it was a really good match. It was a great match. It was a back-and-forth matchup. Rollins hits a super kick on Roman. Roman then lands a big boot. Roman and Rollins then fight through the crowd, with Roman hitting a suplex on the outside. Rollins then hits a jumping knee off the barricade. Rollins then mocks Roman and goes for a spear, but Roman counters it and hits a shield bob, sending Rollins through the announce table. Rollins then hits a powerbomb of his own, sending Roman through the announce table. Rollins hits a pedigree for a near fall. Roman then hits a Superman punch for a near fall as well. Roman then goes for a spear but missed. Rollins hits a foot stomp for a near fall. Rollins then hits a superplex. Roman then applies a guillotine, but the hold is broken. Roman then hits a spear for a near fall. Roman was telling Rollins, "You always are going to be number 2. Rollins then hits a spear for a near fall. Rollins then telling Roman, "I own you." Rollins then hits a buckle bomb, but then Roman hits a buckle bomb of his own on Rollins. Roman hits a foot stomp for a near fall. Roman and Rollins both exchange. Roman hits Rollins, but the referee is down. Roman then pays homage to Dean Ambrose. And then Roman goes for a spear but missed and hit the referee. Rollins paid homage to Dean Ambrose. Rollins then hits a foot stomp. Rollins has a chair. Roman hits Rollins. Rollins and Roman then both exchange. Roman hits a Superman punch, but Rollins hits a pedigree. After that, Rollins then goes for a foot stomp but missed. Roman hits a spear, followed by 2 more spears on Rollins, pins for the 3. And your winner of the match and still world champion is Roman Reigns. Roman puts the fist out like the old Shield days, and then Rollins gets up, he puts the fist pump out to Roman Reigns as well, seemingly ending their feud after the match. A couple of things I want to talk about when it pertains to SummerSlam before I get the hell up out of here, man. Number 1, was it a solid SummerSlam? It was an okay SummerSlam at best. I've seen better SummerSlams, I think we all have. There were certain things that I enjoyed about the show, and there's certain things that I didn't understand. The Liv Morgan decision, I mean, again, I didn't understand it. I still don't get it. I thought for sure Io Sky was going to win the match. The other reason why I wasn't too keen on Liv Morgan is because the title reign, if you want to call it that she's had with that title so far. And now that she retained that belt, the question would be, like I mentioned earlier in the show, is where do we go next with Liv Morgan? Do we, see the return of Stephanie Vaquer? Do we see the return of Becky Lynch? Does Becky, after her reign, after all the stuff that she did with the Women's Intercontinental Championship, maybe now she has her sights set on the Women's World title? Does Becky come back and challenge Liv? Do we see Stephanie Vaquer return after all her visa issues? Do we see other superstars challenge Liv Morgan for the Women's World title? Do we see Roxanne Perez maybe get a little jealous and go after Liv Morgan for the Women's World title? Again, another option. The question now for Liv is, where do we go from here? I do not want to see Liv hold on to this belt for another 100 days with barely any title defenses. There needs to be some people stepping up to challenge Liv Morgan, whether that's Becky Lynch, Stephanie Vaquer, or the other names that I have mentioned. A couple of things that I did like, though. Before I get to that, the other thing I didn't like was, honestly, the Danhausen Dominic Mysterio match. I told you guys how I felt about Danhausen. I don't need to see Danhausen wrestling in a ring on a pay-per-view, and I don't need to see him wrestling on Monday Night Raw or SmackDown. The overabundance of the usage of Danhausen on both Raw and SmackDown, bro, it's absolutely insane. I'm all for Danhausen being a spokesperson for WWE. You want to put this guy in the crowd and, help him, sell merchandise or, have funny moments or be an ambassador for WWE, that's one thing. I do not need to see this guy competing in a pay-per-view match. I don't need to see him wrestling on Raw, or I don't need to see Danhausen, for that matter, every single goddamn week. It's just an overabundance of Danhausen. I feel like I feel like the more times we see Danhausen, the less the fans are actually going to be in tune with what Danhausen's doing. You want to have him as a comedy act, that's fine. We don't need to see him every single day or every single Raw or SmackDown. And I damn sure do not need to see Danhausen compete in a match on a pay-per-view. I'm sorry. So for me personally, as a fan, I'm just done with the whole Danhausen experience. I'm just done with it. To me, the well has run dry for me personally. If you're a fan of Danhausen, then hey, God bless you. I just feel like it's one of those things that it's just an overabundance of Danhausen. And for me, it's just starting to get old. And the whole money's on the pole match. I told you guys before, man, it had a lot of similarities to the old WCW days when, like, WCW had, like, the Judy Bagwell and a forklift match, which was cringy as all hell. We just don't need to see it, man. I'm just done with the whole Danhausen shit, and we need to move on and move forward. The things I did enjoy, I love the fact that we saw the return of Kevin Owens, bro. I'm a big fan of Kevin Owens. Obviously, he was out for 17 to 18 months, I believe, with dealing with a neck injury that pretty much cost him his career. It was great to see him back. I thought it was a great move by WWE to bring him back at a pay-per-view. It surprised the fans. He got a huge ovation from the crowd. I will say this, too. Even after, SummerSlam went off the air, they did their post-show, and seeing Kevin Owens and, him embracing, Corey Graves and all the commentators there, and then embracing Big E, and then you could hear Big E tell Kevin Owens that, hey, man, I almost broke down and cried when you came back because, obviously Kevin Owens had a live microphone. It was just a great moment between Big E and Kevin Owens. Obviously, Big E had basically the same neck injury that Kevin Owens had, which now Big E is no longer probably ever going to wrestle again because of that injury. It almost cost him his life, to be honest with you. Could have paralyzed him from the waist down. Could have really messed up Big E. And luckily, he's walking around. He's fine, but I don't think he'll ever step back in a squared circle ever again. Kevin Owens is back. I mean, even Kevin Owens said at the post-show that, the doctors told him, he can't go the same speed that he was going that whole time up to the point where he got injured. And Kevin Owens said he can't do that. He's going to give everything that he's got, his all, and if we're only going to have Kevin Owens in WWE for a year or two, then that's what we're going to get. But Kevin Owens said he's going to give 110% if he only has 2 years. So I'm excited that he's back. I'm excited that he's now the new number one contender for the WWE Championship. I know some people might feel a certain way about that, but as far as I'm concerned as a fan, you can take my money as far as seeing Kevin Owens versus CM Punk for the WWE Championship, man. I'm absolutely all for it. Absolutely all for it. The other thing, too, we also see the return of the Viper, Randy Orton. Randy Orton obviously has been out with, I don't know if it's injury or just taking some time off, but we finally see the return of Randy Orton. And Orton, stabs his buddy in the back, good old Cody Rhodes, and costs Cody Rhodes the WWE Championship. So now we see Randy Orton back. It looks like Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes have some unfinished business. And it's happy to see Randy Orton back in the swing of things, back in WWE. And I'm going to tell you guys this, man. As far as SmackDown's concerned, I mean, at SmackDown right now, we have Nick Aldis returning as general manager. He's back in the fold again. And now we have some returns back to Friday Night SmackDown that were sorely needed. Now the main event scene on SmackDown, you got CM Punk, you got Cody Rhodes, you got the return of Kevin Owens, you got the return of Randy Orton. You also have, the possible return of Drew McIntyre as well, somewhere down the line. I mean, the main event scene over on Friday nights is starting to look very, very good now that we had the return of Kevin Owens and Randy Orton, and also the possible return of Drew McIntyre as well. So SmackDown is going to start heating up here relatively soon. It could be this week. So I'm all for that. SmackDown needs those guys, sorely need them. And it's great to see both Kevin Owens and Randy Orton back in WWE. So again, that was two of the best things that I thought coming out of the show for SummerSlam. Chad Gable, again, very excited for Chad Gable. It was time well overdue for Gable to become Intercontinental Champion. He finally becomes Intercontinental Champion. And I was happy as hell for Chad Gable, man. He has busted his ass up to this point to get this opportunity. He's put the time in. He's put the effort in. And it was time. It was time to, crown Chad Gable the new Intercontinental Champion. The one thing I will say that I did not like, though, is seeing the the mug root beer bulldog mascot show up, and then you see Chad Gable grabbing 2 root beers from this mascot, and he's chugging them like he's Stone Cold Steve Austin. I just felt like I felt like it was something where Triple H and the powers that be need to read the room. Let this guy have his moment with his friends, his family, his wife and kids. I mean, hell, his mom and dad were even in the crowd wearing, jerseys that said, #1 fan for Chad Gable. This was a moment for Chad Gable that I felt like it was kind of altered due to the fact that we have the mug root beer mascot bulldog out there with these root beers handing it over to Chad Gable. I just thought it was kind of cringy. It was like they had to put this right here, right now to fill out their, I guess, sponsorships, if you will. I just thought it was kind of cringy. But again, I'm excited for Chad Gable. Doesn't take anything away from Penta. Both these guys did a hell of a job in that match. It was one of the matches I was actually looking forward to at SummerSlam, and I thought it was a class act by Penta, putting the belt around Chad Gable's waist. And yeah, it kind of reminded me of when Piper faced off against Bret, and you saw Piper put the title on Bret Hart. But both those guys, man, they killed it. It doesn't do anything to affect Penta, to be honest with you. Penta, he's, a top-level talent for WWE, hands down. And this is not the last time we're going to see Penta or Penta be Intercontinental Champion, for that matter. I can tell you guys that. But again, I'm very excited for Chad Gable, and I look forward to what's going to happen next for Chad Gable, being that he is now the new Intercontinental Champion. CM Punk and Cody Rhodes, again, I thought it was a great match with the return of Randy Orton, and now, Kevin Owens is a new #1 contender. Looks like he's going after CM Punk, and it looks like Orton and Rhodes have some unfinished business as well after what Orton did to Cody Rhodes and ultimately cost him the WWE title. So I'm looking forward to that as well. Roman and Seth, I thought, they did what they could in this matchup. I thought it was a great match. It was a 14-year friendship, if you will, or 14 years that these guys have known each other, obviously, from the Shield days and everything else. It was something that all came down to this matchup. Kind of passing in the torch. Now these guys can go their separate ways. Rollins coming out with the Shield mask that I believe even Dean Ambrose wore, a.k.a. Jon Moxley, during the Shield days. They even paid homage to Dean Ambrose with the Future Shock DDT, or the Dirty Deeds. I thought that was cool as shit. But it's time to move on. It's time to move on for Seth. I don't know what happens next with Seth Rollins. Roman, he's the World Heavyweight Champion. We all know that everybody's going to be trying to get an opportunity at Roman for the World Heavyweight title. So I look forward to who's going to be the next #1 contender for the World Heavyweight title and what Roman's going to do next, man. But I thought it was a great match. I thought both those guys tore the house down. The other thing I will say that's disappointing before I get out of here was the Oba Femi Brock Lesnar match. I respect the hell out of Oba. I never seen a wrestler come in from NXT and they strap the rocket ship to this guy's back and they're sending this guy to the moon and beyond. And like I told you guys earlier, Oba Femi is a kind of guy that is literally printing money for WWE. Oba came in, like I said, 6'3", 303, 310, built like a brick shit house, a powerhouse. They brought him up to the main roster, man. They saw what he can do, and they took the rocket ship and strapped it to this guy's back and said, here you go. This is going to be the guy that's going to be the main event guy, the next big superstar, the next big thing for WWE for the next 10, 15 years. Lesnar passing the torch to Oba. Lesnar even said that I was the past, and here's the future. I agree with him. Oba is the future of this business, hands down. He's going to be a force to be reckoned with within WWE. He's going to be a future Hall of Famer, multi-time WrestleMania main eventer. And honestly, going into WrestleMania next year, Roman could hold on to this belt until we get to WrestleMania, and it could be the Tribal Chief versus the ruler, Oba Femi, for the World Heavyweight title. You can take my money. Absolutely. Now, I would say with the Oba-Brock Lesnar match, the one thing that was not needed nor necessary was the Hell in a Cell. I'm sorry. I know why WWE did it, is because they had a hard time putting asses in seats for SummerSlam. Their ticket sales were horrendous going into SummerSlam, going into Minneapolis. They needed to do something to have fans want to buy tickets. That's exactly why they booked this matchup. Now, did they still sell a lot of seats? Yeah, they sold seats, but from what I understand, what I was told, that there were parts of that stadium that were empty. So they didn't sell out. It was not a sold-out show. And I heard night 2 was worse than night 1 as far as attendance for SummerSlam. So, even with all that and adding the Hell in a Cell stipulation to this match really didn't intensify ticket sales for SummerSlam. I mean, hell, You had wide receiver Justin Jefferson for the Minnesota Vikings in a commercial telling that WWE was marking down their tickets to $25 and they still couldn't sell out. You know what I mean? It's because it's quality over quantity. You know what I mean? You could have had Brock Lesnar versus Obafemi in a regular match. Didn't need Hell in a Cell. And I know some people, I mentioned this earlier, some people were saying, well, it doesn't need to be a Mankind and Undertaker moment like it was back in the day. First and foremost, what happened between Taker and Mankind, I believe it was, 98 in King of the Ring, if I'm not mistaken, that will never happen again. That will never be duplicated again. I mean, hell, they almost killed Mick Foley in that matchup. I mean, that matchup was fucking brutal. That will never be duplicated again. I'm not, and nor do I want that to happen. I don't want to see Brock Lesnar or Obafemi fall off a 20-foot cage down to a goddamn announce table and almost cost them their life. I don't want to see that. But what I wouldn't mind seeing is that these guys break through the cell. Now, these guys are big enough guys to break through that cell. You break through the cell. You fight on the outside. Hell, you fight outside the cage. You got Obafemi on one side of the cage. You got Lesnar on the other side. Both of those guys stare at each other, and they start climbing up the cage. Holy shit. You got two Goliaths climbing up the cage. Then they get on top of the cage, and they beat the shit out of each other on top of the cage. Maybe Lesnar hits an F5 on Oba on the top of the cage. Maybe Obafemi hits a fall from grace on Lesnar on the top of the cage. Something. A memorable moment. They didn't even use a cell at all. The only hardcore moment in that cell match was, I believe, Lesnar going through a table. That was it. There was no need for the Hell in a Cell stipulation in this match. It wasn't. Not at all. It was not necessary at all. Now, like I said before, do I think this is one of the best SummerSlams of all time? Absolutely fucking not. Absolutely not. Was it horrible? No. But was it one of the best SummerSlams of all time? Absolutely fucking not. No. I've seen a lot better SummerSlams than what we just got. It wasn't horrible, but damn sure wasn't the best. You know, and now, like I said, I mean, what I'm excited for me moving forward is now that we had the return of Kevin Owens and Randy Orton. And the SmackDown main event scene is going to get a hell of a lot better now with the returns of both Kevin Owens and Randy Orton. We also have Drew McIntyre possibly on his way back too, and he's also going to be on Friday Night SmackDown. SmackDown's main event scene is slowly shaping up to be something that might be even better than Monday Night Raw's main event scene at the very moment. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. And I'm looking forward to Raw and SmackDown this week to see the fallout and what happens next moving forward from SummerSlam, bro. I'm all for it, man. I think Raw's going to be good, and hopefully SmackDown is good as well. And seeing both the returns of, you know, Randy Orton and Kevin Owens as well going into this week's Friday Night SmackDown. But as far as SummerSlam is concerned, it wasn't a horrible show. Could it have been better? Yeah, there were some matches there that I enjoyed, and there's some that I didn't. But overall, it wasn't a terrible show for SummerSlam. It could have been better, but it also could have been worse. I feel like it was right there in the middle as a decent SummerSlam pay-per-view. But with that being said, though, this is my review of WWE's SummerSlam. I hope you guys are out there staying safe. Be careful, and remember, stay classic. Peace.